The red dress of the Marlborough. It was the winter of 1923, a time when the Marlborough Hotel stood as a glamorous symbol of the roaring 20s in downtown Winnipeg. Elegant parties, roaring laughter, and the clink of champagne glasses echoed through its grand halls. Beneath the sheen of decadence, though, something darker lingered, a shadow unseen lurking within its ornate walls. At the heart of this tale is Evelyn Gray, a young woman with a secret too heavy to bear. Evelyn was beautiful, the kind of beauty that turned heads at every corner. She came to Winnipeg from a small prairie town, drawn by dreams of stardom and a better life. The Marlborough Hotel became her gilded cage. She worked as a lounge singer, her voice filling the ballroom night after night, captivating the attention of every man in the room. But Evelyn's life was far from glamorous behind closed doors. One man in particular had his eye on her. Charles Wentworth, a wealthy businessman with dark ambitions. Known for his ruthless dealings, Wentworth had deep ties to the criminal underworld, and when he set his sights on Evelyn, it was more than admiration. It was obsession. She wanted nothing to do with him, but in that era, women like her had little choice when powerful men decided they owned them. The guests of the hotel would later say they noticed a shift in Evelyn. Her once lively performances grew distant, her radiant smile faded into something hollow, a ghost of the woman she once was. She'd confided in the bartender that she planned to leave the city, escape Wentworth and the dangerous circle of men he ran with. But Winnipeg was a small place, and rumours spread like wildfire. Charles found out. One cold, bitter evening in December, just after midnight, Evelyn disappeared. She was last seen wearing her signature red dress, the one she wore on stage, making her way down the fifth-floor corridor, but she never made it to her room. Wentworth was waiting. What exactly happened in those final moments between Evelyn and Wentworth remains a mystery. Some say there was a violent struggle, others whisper of a chilling deal gone wrong. All that's known is that her body was discovered days later in the hotel's storage basement, lifeless, a crimson streak marking the wall where her head had struck. The newspapers buried the story, as they often did with the elite's misdeeds. Officially, it was ruled an accident. But for those who worked in the hotel, it was no accident. It was murder. Years passed, but Evelyn's story didn't die with her. Guests began reporting strange happenings. It started with whispers in the night, footsteps echoing in the fifth-floor hallway when no one was there. Then came the sightings. A flash of red out of the corner of the eye, the fleeting image of a woman in a crimson gown drifting through the halls, only to vanish before anyone could approach. The haunting grew darker. In the dead of night, men staying on the fifth floor would hear knocking at their door, sharp and persistent. But when they opened it, no one stood there. One night, a businessman, staying in the very room where Evelyn had been last seen, was found screaming in terror, claiming he'd seen her reflection in the mirror, her face twisted in sorrow and rage. Rumours spread that Evelyn was seeking revenge, her spirit trapped within the walls of the Marlborough, unable to rest until her murderer faced justice. But Wentworth was never punished. He lived the rest of his days in wealth, untouched by the law, dying peacefully in his sleep many years later. Some believe this is why her spirit remains, unsettled, angry, and looking for retribution against all those who took advantage of her and stood by while she was silenced. Today, the fifth floor of the Marlborough Hotel remains a hotspot for strange occurrences. The cold spots, the feeling of being watched, the flash of a red dress in the mirror just before the lights flicker. Guests leave in the middle of the night, unable to shake the oppressive feeling of dread that clings to them. But the most chilling account came from a woman who stayed at the hotel in the 1970s. She'd been attending a party and was unfamiliar with the hotel's haunted history. After returning to her room late that night, she awoke to the sound of sobbing. She opened her eyes to see a woman in a tattered red dress standing at the foot of her bed, her face pale and bloodied. The woman whispered,
"He took everything from me."
The guest blinked and the figure was gone. If you're ever in Winnipeg, Take a walk through the 5th floor of the Marlborough Hotel. But be warned, if you hear a knock at your door in the dead of night, think twice before you open it. It might just be Evelyn, still waiting for the justice that never came.